Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are going to be taking a look at patch 0.13, which is the console update patch. There are a ton of changes, so if you guys didn't feel like reading all of the notes, I'm going to cover the most important things here. Also, if you are a console player, make sure you keep watching because there is an update in here which will let you guys know how you will actually get to play Predecessor if you signed up for the closed beta. So without further ado, let's get right into these patch notes. So the first things first is Iggy Scorch is going to be coming out with this new update on December 5th. If you guys haven't watched the reveal trailer, you can go ahead and watch it on YouTube, or you could go on their website and watch it right here. They also did come out with Iggy Scorch's ability overview. They did change a couple of things. He's not exactly the same as the old Paragon. Before, his basic attack was a Molotov. Now his Molotov is a regular ability that you can throw pretty dang far. His basic attack is basically a ranged basic attack where I believe Scorch just spews out like fire, which is why they call it spew. And the oil spill, it no longer gives you that movement speed. Before, Iggy Scorch had a movement speed ability where he could basically just run backwards or run wherever and oil will follow him. Now the oil spill, he just shoots a straight line of oil and you can throw a Molotov at it and light it on fire. But moving on past Iggy, we have the Winterfest event. This is going to be an in-game seasonal event where you guys can get seasonal rewards. This is kind of similar to me. It kind of reminds me of like a battle pass. Since they're not doing like a traditional battle pass, they're just going to have in-game rewards that you can unlock via playing matches and earning XP. And inside of this Winterfest event, we're going to have a couple of skins that are coming out along with a new skin. So we have Feng Mao, we have the Peppermint Kalari, which we also got last year around this time. We have the new Iggy Scorch little reindeer skin, and then we have the old Saint Richter. These are older Paragon skins if I remember correctly, but what isn't an older skin is this new Frost King Revenant legendary skin. A legendary skin is a skin that has visual effect changes, audio changes, and voiceover changes, and that is their first legendary skin, which is the Frost King Revenant. You know what's crazy? I remember a while back they had also leaked a Bellica legendary skin that also changed her visual effects and audio and everything. I was hoping to get that sometime this year, but it only makes sense that they come out with these things as more people play, so the hype is there, and obviously they'll make more money because there's more people playing the game. So as this comes out on PlayStation and Xbox, we're definitely going to start seeing a lot more legendary skins and a lot more improvements. So all of the Revenant fans, be ready to become a goddamn Frost King, I guess. Also with this update, we're going to be having sprays. Sprays are exactly how it sounds. They're sprays. So if you want to taunt people or whatever, you can just put a spray on the wall, spray on the ground, whatever. These are going to be the 6 default sprays that you come out with, and then they're going to be coming out with sprays that you can unlock with the Winterfest event. Now moving on to controller improvements. Now if you guys didn't know, I actually play controller on PC. I'm like one of the only people that plays controller right now on Predecessor, and one of my biggest problems is currently with the controller is that if you don't have a custom controller like I do, you constantly have to take your thumb off the analog stick, especially when you're playing with certain characters. One of the biggest problems I used to have is with the Fae, which is why I never used to play her a lot, is that her little harvest nettle attack where she throws the little nettle at people and it comes back super quick. That ability was on circle for me, and look at that. Circle, I have to basically take my thumb off the analog stick and then basically place it on circle just to throw it. And if I take it off the analog stick, I can no longer aim. So God forbid I was playing against like a Shinbi, a Countess, one of these mobile heroes. Basically you're gonna miss the majority of your nettle attacks. And then sometimes with players like Howitzer, even though it's closer to the analog stick, it's kind of easy and kind of hard to dodge Howitzer's R2000 missile at the same time. And I love Howitzer. I just map my back buttons to X and circle. I also had one for square as well. So with these controller improvements, they've changed it to where you no longer have to take your thumb off the analog stick. All of these buttons right here were all certain abilities, right? So square was an ability. I'm not sure if it was primary, secondary, or alternative or whatever. Square was an ability, triangle was your ultimate, circle was another ability, X was always to jump. But now they're changing it to how the old Paragon game was. I believe the old Paragon game never had this problem because it started off on console and PC at the same time, so it already had like perfect controller support. The only thing that I hope that they will be doing with this game that the old Paragon didn't do is let you fully customize your dead zone. Like, let me put it down to 0 if I want to, because me having a custom controller, that increased stick attention, it makes me less precise because I have to press my thumbstick a lot harder than normal. So as it might help people without a custom controller, people with a custom controller is definitely gonna fuck up. So hopefully they do let you like change it. But now with your abilities, you can basically map them. They're mapped to L1, R1, and R2 and L2. And if you want to drop your ultimate, you're just gonna press L1 plus R1, which I believe that's how it was in the old Paragon as well. They're also having some changes with all of the different items, the pinging and things like that. But this is definitely gonna be a big help for controller players because trust me, the controller support currently on PC was not up to par. You basically need a custom controller if you want to play kind of competitive against all these goddamn keyboard and mouse players. Also with the controller, they're going to be letting you adjust your turn acceleration, so your acceleration strength and your acceleration delay. Hopefully that, like I said before, that allows me to change my dead zone a bit, but you're gonna have a lot more control on what's going on with your controller. So controller players, you definitely will be able to be competitive for sure. And they're also making it so where every hero and skin now shows its own color on the light bar. Personally, I don't care about that. I kind of play with that off anyway. And adaptive triggers and all that stuff, things like that, where you're having the rumble effects and all that shit. Honestly, if you have that on, I promise you, you will never be good at any video game. You're casual, that's okay. But if you have on your adaptive triggers and haptics, just say you're a bot, bruh. Like, don't post on no videos. Don't post on anything. You're not good. You're not good. I have never heard of any good controller player having that shit on. And it's not about to start now. You're not good. You might be mid at best. Moving on. Here, unlock stage adjustments. Basically, right, so with this whole section, for all the newer players, you're going to be able to unlock your characters a bit faster when you guys first start the game, because right now you guys do not have access to all the characters like the rest of the PC players that have been playing for the past year. You basically need to go through their stupid little hero acquisition system and unlock characters one at a time, which personally it takes like 40 matches low key to unlock it. It might be 30, but it's around like 30 to 40 range. But with this little boost that you guys get, it won't take nearly as long. Obviously, you guys could always buy characters if you really want to use them that badly. And also, just like in Smite, there will be characters on what they call free rotation. So if you guys want to try out a character that you don't have unlocked, hopefully it might be on free rotation for that time being. Now, moving along, we have a couple of new items with this update. We actually have 11 new items with this update, which is really good because this game was lacking a lot of variety, especially with the magic based items. Magic based does not have nearly as many items as it does with the physical items. We are going to be taking a look at these newer items a little bit later because it is a little bit further down this list. But yeah, they do have 11 new items, which is definitely going to be clutch. Now with ability buffering, this is huge, and I'm gonna tell you guys why. So first things first, what is ability buffering? So what they say is in Predecessor, when you are blocked from casting an ability due to an ongoing action, such as being midway through another ability's animation, you may input another ability midway to cue it. Said ability then attempt to cast at the next available opportunity. What this entire ability buffering is doing, we're just going to take a look at the improvements because as we read them, you guys will understand what's going on. So what they say is our goal is to build upon this to make it truly reflective of what you're trying to do in the moment. With that in mind, we have made the following changes. The last ability that you attempted to use while buffering will now be the ability that is actually used rather than whatever you may have queued first. Also, abilities may now only be buffered for a short time before they are forgotten and must be input again. They are no longer remembered forever. Abilities that fail to cast under certain conditions, such as Grux's Smash and Grab or Bellica's Seismic Assault mid-air, may now be buffered and will cast upon landing on the ground. Abilities can now be buffered while under hard crowd control effects such as stuns and will cast at the next possible moment once the effect expires. And jumping may now also be buffered. Any action where you're midway through an animation, you're stunned, you're in middle of the air because you press jump, it will remember the last button that you clicked, which will be the void drone. But initially that it will remember the first action that you put in, which was the seismic assault. So you would still call in seismic seismic assault before the void drone comes down. Now personally, this wasn't really too much of a big old problem that they had. Maybe on keyboard and mouse, I'm not too sure, but for me personally on controller, I didn't really have any problems with any of this. The biggest thing that I can say about with the ability buffering that I definitely noticed is that when I used to blink on people, and especially for some reason when I played with Twin Blast, sometimes I would blink, and like when you're in the heat of the moment, I would start spamming abilities. It would call in an ability that I didn't want to use because I blinked and say I got CC'd by a Richter immediately, and then I wanted to like dash backwards instead of calling in the vaporize. It would not dash me backwards. They would call in the vaporize and then I would dash backwards. But this wasn't really a huge thing that I really dealt with. The fact that they're making this big of a difference, a big of a change, is going to be clutch because that means that you're just going to have more precise actions and more efficiency. Now for the PlayStation closed beta, like I mentioned before, this is where all the PlayStation players want to really look at. What they're going to be doing is they're going to be sending out 5,000 to 10,000 codes per day until everybody in the queue that signed up for the beta has gotten a key. And once they sent out the codes to everybody in the current queue, they will continue emailing further queues to anybody that signs up. So probably in the first couple of days, I say like 3 to 4 days, everybody that signed up will get their key to play the closed beta. As far as I know, you guys do not have to pay for the game. So moving along to other improvements, the biggest thing that I noticed here, there's a couple of things, but the biggest thing that I only care about is right here, improved Murdoch's sound effects. So with like the Wraith update, I believe, or one of these recent updates, they fucked up how Wraith's sound effects sounded. He sounds disgusting. It did not sound like Murdoch. It sounded like the audio was peaking and that shit was all sorts of fucked up. Another problem that they did fix, I believe that's also in the bug fixes all the way down here, is, I would have to find it, Kira sound effects were also fucked up. You could basically hear Kira in the middle of the map. Like you could quite literally be in the mid lane and hear Kira shooting all the way in the duo lane. So I do believe that they did fix that, but let's go back to hero changes. I'm not really going to cover these too much because I don't really care about any of these heroes. Like all the robot characters are ass. I will never play Crunch. I played him twice in my entire career. I hate him, bro. I hate him so much. But yeah, anyway, but there are a couple of hero changes. Gideon got a little change where apparently he would like yeet like cross country or something like that with a bug that was going on. I don't really know. I don't really play Gideon and I can't say I care too much, but apparently that was going on. And we got a couple of other changes around here. Wraith got a big old buff, but now to the important part, which are the new item changes. I'm not going to cover these items right here. There are a couple of items that are like, I call them like recipe items personally, but they're like tier 2 items, which are the items that you need to build into a main item. There's a couple of these that they added that give you different little stats, but we're going to go and look at the main items, the big boys. And the first one that we have here is, it is this Onyxian quiver. It might be a Noxian quiver. I'm not too sure how it's pronounced, but this is the one that they had teased where ranged heroes get 2 additional projectiles, each dealing damage equal to 12 to 30%, 36% of your physical power. Multi-shot deals more damage to far away targets, can critically strike, and lifesteal. Damage to monsters is capped at 12%. And then we also get this new little thing right here, Keen Strikes. Basic attacks deal 20% bonus physical damage on hit. And then we have this new little passive right here as well called Onyxia. Melee heroes gain 2% attack speed, 1% damage mitigation for every 10% missing health, up to a maximum of 20% attack speed and 10% damage reduction. So I'm gonna tell you off the rip, this item is going to definitely be for Sparrow. And it's funny because it does have Quiver in it, because Sparrow is the only ADC with 0 form of escaping at all. Like with Revenant, he's also one of the worst when it comes to trying to get away, but Revenant also hits like a truck and he can just take people into his ult if he wants to 1v1 them. So this item is definitely going to be primarily used for Sparrow. You're definitely going to see a lot of different variations with different characters, but with the second item on here, we have this Echelon Cloak. I don't know how I feel too much about this item just because there's only 2 characters that can go invisible, but with this shit right here, basically everybody can go invisible if they put this item on. Stand still and do not take damage for 2.5 seconds to become camouflage. Moving 800 units from this location, casting an ability or receiving damage will end this effect. Now 800 units is pretty far. I could honestly see like this being on a Chimera or like some weirdo that's playing in like a 5 stack and they just decide that they want to sit at the fog wall and they want to gank, but they want to just sit there for a long time, they're going to get the invisibility, get to roam around for 800 units from that location, and then just go launch on somebody in the lane. I can definitely see this being quite annoying, especially because it gives you attack speed, physical power, health, and ability haste. So it's not like it's a horrible item. It's going to be a pretty good item. Then also on top of that, this might be busted on a rampage, because while camouflage, you regenerate 2% of your missing health and mana every second. That is absurd. And then upon leaving the camouflage, increase your damage dealt by 8% for 3 seconds. So low key, put this on a wraith. You don't even have to use your invisibility ability. You can basically go invisible twice in like one life. Go ahead, get a kill, activate your invisibility, and you just keep peeling in and out of fights. They're definitely coming in with some heat with some of these new items. The other new item that we have here is called Envy. This is a new assassin item that gives you a guaranteed critical strike to its wielder under certain conditions. So the new passive, upon dashing or leaping with an ability or exiting camouflage, your next basic ability or your next basic attack within 3 seconds will critically strike. And then along with Nvidia, this is a new passive as well. Critical strikes empower your abilities for the next 3 seconds to deal 10% bonus physical damage. So Wraith might be getting a new build. You guys might be seeing a new Wraith build for me because with these new items, Envy along with Echelon Cloak, they just want people to go invisible. I don't know why they want so many people to go invisible, considering how easy it is to destroy the wards, and I can't buy wards. Invisibility is going to be pretty dang busted. Another new item is called Berserker's Axe. This gives you 45 physical power, 350 health, and 3% movement speed. So upon dashing or leaping with an ability, your next basic attack within 3 seconds will deal 50 times 7% bonus health, bonus physical power or bonus physical damage, and slow targets by 50% for 0.75 seconds, and basic attacks reduce the cooldown of blitz. Low key, as I'm reading this, I'm thinking Fang Mao, and I'm also thinking Twin Blast. I'm thinking Twin Blast with a dash, with like his little dash, and then you put on a Typhoon and you get like the double dash, so you can have 2 leaps or 2 dashes or whatever, and then you can just keep spam. Like, I'm just thinking of so many builds in my head that I can make with these new items. But they also have a new passive too, which imagine you put this on a Twin Blast. So passing through a fog wall will grant you 20% bonus movement speed for 1.5 seconds. So if you're chasing down somebody as a Twin Blast, bro, and you go through a fog wall, bro, you're gonna catch up to him, I promise. We also have this new item called Bone Seeker. This gives you 30% attack speed, 300 health, and 10% ability haste, and it's pretty cheap, costs 2,900. With this new passive, it is called Pursue. Basic attacks against enemy heroes marks them as your target and increases your damage dealt to them by 2% for 4 seconds. Additional basic attacks against them stacks up this effect 10 times for a maximum of 20%. 20% increased damage. Changing your targets resets your stack. So, you know, obviously, if you're in a team fight, it may not be too helpful unless you're really hitting one person, but 1v1, that's going to be clutch. And either way, even if you're hitting multiple people, you're still going to be doing minimum 2% if you keep switching targets. So I'm still thinking Wraith a little bit. Like, the only problem with this, it doesn't give you any type of physical power, so you might not want to put this on a Wraith. It's definitely going to be more of a bruiser, tanky, melee character type of item. But let's look at the other passive. It's called Swift Strikes. Basic attacks deal 20 physical damage on hit and grants 3% bonus movement speed for 1.25 seconds. And there's no cooldown on that. There's no cooldown on that. So yeah, these new items are really busted. I'm just thinking. The next new item is called Orb of Growth. This is a new magical item, and like I said before, magic items have really been lacking lately, and luckily with this new update, we did get about like 3 to 4 new magic items, which is definitely clutch because we have the least items out of all of the items in the game. So this costs 2,900, gives you 55 magical power, 250 health, 200 mana, and 5 ability haste. The new passive Inner Growth, killing enemy minions and monsters will grant 6 bonus XP. Takedowns grant 42 bonus XP. Upon gaining 500 bonus XP, return to the base and evolve this item to Orb of Enlightenment. The other passive Orb of Growth is Art of Fortitude. Casting an ability restores 4% of your missing health over 3 seconds. So once you basically unlock the upgraded version of this, it will turn into Orb of Enlightenment when you go back to the base, but it looks like you get a new passive. So you still keep the Art of Fortitude, which restores restores your 4% missing health over 3 seconds. But then you get this Enlighten passive, which for each hero level, gain 2 magical power, 10 health, 20 mana, and 1 ability haste. If you're level 18 and you have this item on, you'll basically get 36 magical power, taking the total of this item up to like, what is that, 91, right? Yeah, 91, 85, 91. And you're also going to have an extra 180 health, an extra whoever knows mana, and an extra 18 ability haste. So this item was definitely going to be something worth looking into if you're a Magic player or you like to play mid lane and even support characters. The next new item is called Spirit of Emir. So this item costs 2,900, gives you 75 magical power, 6 magical lifesteal. This is actually the 3rd magical lifesteal item in the game, but technically it's only the 2nd because the other magical lifesteal item is actually a crest. It's the Soul Bearer crest, which gives you a shield. It's not an actual item per se that you can actually go ahead and build into. The other lifesteal item is called Life Binder. It's a really strong magical lifesteal item, but we finally getting a new magical lifesteal item. So this item also gives you 15% or 15 ability haste and 3% movement speed, and it now has new passives, of course, called Natural Selection. While in the jungle, gain 6% magical lifesteal, while out of the jungle, gain 8% increased magical power. When you go ahead and fight people in the jungle, especially when you have to rotate and whatnot, because there's a lot of Fangtooth and Orb Prime fights, you're finally going to be getting a boost as a magic based player or a mid laner. Your other new passive is called Blessing of Emir. Killing enemy units restore 2% missing mana and increase to 20% for enemy heroes. So basically when you kill minions, you're going to get 2% of your missing mana back, and then also when you kill enemy heroes, you're going to get a whopping 20%. Now I'm gonna tell you right now, this is actually extremely clutch, because one of the biggest things as being a mid lane main is that you run out of mana so absurdly fast, and God forbid the jungle meat rides the ever living fuck out of the river camps. It's going to be difficult to get the river camps, and you're not going to be getting your mana back, so you're always going to have to struggle with teleporting back or staying in the lane to get farm. So yeah, this is definitely going to be a really good item. Next new item is called Windcaller. It's more of a support item, and you can tell that just because how cheap it is. It's 2650. It gives you 35 magical power, 175 health, 15 ability haste, and then it heals 10% like heal and shield power. So this is definitely going to be more for phases and Muriels and even Narbashes. So you get a passive called Renewing Strikes. Basic attacks restore 1% of your missing mana doubled against heroes. Zephyr, healing or shielding an ally grants you both 10% bonus movement speed for 1.5 seconds. Now I'm gonna tell you guys right now, what I immediately think is Narbash is about to be the most busted support character in the fucking game. You're basically gonna have infinite movement speed, infinite 10% bonus movement speed if you're playing with a Narbash. Moving on to the next item, my voice is definitely getting a little bit choppy because this video has been going on for quite a while, but it's all good. We have Frosted Lure. This item is cost 2700, gives you 325 health, 30 physical armor, and 15 ability haste. The new passive Frost Wave. Stand near enemy heroes for 4 seconds to unleash a pulse of energy, dealing 40 times 7% of your maximum health true damage, well, as true damage to all nearby enemy heroes, slowing them by 40% for 1.5 seconds, and it has a 45-second cooldown. And then you have a new Zephyr passive called Icy Guard. Frost Wave shields you for 120% of the damage dealt for 4 seconds. And I'm telling you guys right now, Sevarog, Xeris, Rampage, characters that like to build a shitload of health, Steel, all these characters, you put on this item, I promise you, that shit is going to be clutch. It is going to be clutch, because those are high health heroes that can get up to like 4 to 5k health. So the next new item is called Giant's Ring. Who doesn't like getting big? Giant's Ring is a new physical armor option for tanks, focusing on the theme of reduced cooldown and rewarding you for pulling aggro and getting in your opponent's face. So basic attacks, Retribution is new passive. Basic attacks from enemy heroes reduce current basic ability cooldowns by 0.25 seconds and 0.5 seconds. So for anybody that plays the game, Ashbringer, this is basically the tank version of it. Ashbringer does the exact same thing with this basic attack, reduces basic ability cooldowns. So yeah, the other passive on this item is called Gigantism. So upon casting your ultimate, gain 20% increased size, reduce damage taken by 8%, and double its effectiveness of Retribution for 6 seconds. This right here will get doubled. So originally it's going to be 0.25 seconds, and then once you drop your ult, it'll get up to that 0.5 second cooldown. I can only imagine what this item is going to look like paired with Sapphire's Mantle if you can grow in size. So matter of fact, I might do a gameplay on this right here. I'm gonna call in Rampage. I'm gonna play Rampage, call in his ultimate, because Rampage's ultimate makes him get bigger. Then I'm gonna have on this item, I'm gonna get 20% bigger. Then I'm gonna have on Sapphire's Mantle, and I believe Sapphire's Mantle is like an extra 20 to 30%. So I'm gonna be literally towering over people. I might be bigger than a literal tower in the game. And that is really the end of the new items and all of the different changes. These are some very interesting new items. I do really fuck with them. For the last bit of the patch notes, we just have minion changes, and really with the minion change, this really all they did was make it a lot easier to kill them, and they just go on a big spew about not wanting to make it easier to farm. But sometimes when you're playing, like, the tower would do a shitload of damage, or like you would be doing shit and you'd be doing damage, and sometimes you would just miss the final blow on some BS. So they just really want to fix that problem. So with this, they're basically going to reduce the damage that the minions take from the towers, so you guys can final blow them a little bit easier. And then with the core, they're also changing the core to do less damage. So that's pretty much all this is saying. The core is going to be less damage. And then we have a whole bunch of bug fixes, and trust me, there have been a ton of bug fixes, and hopefully it did fix all the problems, because there was a lot of problems that was going on. And that is the end of the patch notes, guys. So let me know what you guys think about the new items. Let me know if you guys are excited to play the game if you're on PlayStation. But other than that, guys, I will catch you guys in the next video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm Big Cat 188, and I'm out. Peace.